What will happen to American Samoa as sea levels rise? Hello, friends. Jim here. American Samoa's sinking land speeds up sea level rise. A new interactive tool is helping residents understand how their lands and homes are at risk. And we'll be looking at some of the graphics in this article, which appeared in the online EOS publication. And I have a photo here. Coastal settlements like Vatia in the National Park of American Samoa will likely be entirely flooded by 2100 under high emission scenarios, due in large part to land subsidence. So in American Samoa, the sea is rising 4 times faster than the global average. An ongoing project has shown that land subsidence is to blame. The crust is relaxing after an earthquake and tsunami in 2009, compounding the effects of climate change. So sea levels are rising, but the land is also basically sinking, subsiding. Probably some compaction going on after the earthquake and tsunami events. The water is getting higher because the volume of water is increasing, but also because the land is getting lower, said Carla Bizo, a graduate student in physical oceanography at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and was involved in the project. This is a problem. Saltwater intrusion into aquifers endangers the water supply. It also puts stress on the island's ecosystems. Narrowing coastlines support most of the island's infrastructure, including electricity, telecommunications, and sewage. All our airports and seaports are located along the coast and are most susceptible to the impacts of sea level rise, said Natalia Palamo, who is a chief engineer at the Department of Port Administration in American Samoa. Not involved in research. As an island located far from the mainland USA, our airport and seaport infrastructure are key to our people's survival. So global sea level is currently rising, this is global, about 4 millimeters per year. Calculations of future changes include some amount of land motion to estimate effects on coastal communities, an average rate applied uniformly around the globe. That rate describes local motion quite well for most of the world, but can be inaccurate in places where land moves quickly. That's what's going on with American Samoa and nearby island nations, where a pair of strong earthquakes and tsunamis struck in 2009. As the crust rebounds, the surface is sinking. And I'm wondering if they're referring to the oceanic crust. That is not quite clear to me. Researchers sought to demonstrate how that land subsidence changes American Samoa's future under different greenhouse gas emission scenarios. They gathered decades of tide gauge data from instruments deployed on the islands of Tula, Anuu, the Manu Islands, Ofu, Olosiga, and Tau, and Rose Atoll. Those data reveal that the islands experience about 16 millimeters per year of sea level rise. Recall that the global average is 4 millimeters, so there's your 4 times higher rate. They then gathered measurements of land subsidence using GPS, Global Navigation Satellite System, which is GNSS, LIDAR, and geodesy data to understand how quickly land is sinking. So let's look at this figure here. And they're showing the flooding in centimeters. So, like very, very pale blue, almost white, is less than 10. The darker the blue is, the greater it is. The darkest blue is more than 110 centimeters, which is, of course, more than a meter. Under the highest emission scenario, the city and harbor of Pago Pago could see more than a meter of sea level rise due to a combination of global warming and land subsidence. Shown are sea level projections for 2050. This is what we're looking at right now. Right, this is the situation with 2050, and as you can see, it's in the light blue area, probably around 50 centimeters or so, and then 2100. Well, okay, so here's Pago Pago. Let me reveal 2100. Oops, I was supposed to do that. There you have it. Look at that. That is substantive. And you can see that it's basically, this is all getting flooded. It's more than more than 1 meter, and this is going to impact the people, the islands, the ecosystem, so forth. You can see it right there. Right? One more time. 2050, 2100. Prior surveys had calculated subsidence rates for Tutula and its close neighbor Anuu, but satellite imagery of the Manu's islands were unavailable, said Kelly Anderson Tagarino, the University of Hawaii Sea Grant Extension agent based at American Samoa Community College in Mapusaga. New tide gauges and GPS ground control points have since been installed in the Afu, Tau, and Anu harbors and eastern Tutula Asi harbor. My apologies if I'm butchering these names. We can start getting real data instead of just assumed rates of sea level or subsidence that are all derived from prior benchmarks. The team found that 84% of the sea level rise experienced since the tsunami is due to sinking land. Because of that, high emissions climate change projections underestimate by 50% the 2030 sea level rise. The projections also underestimate by 45% the area that will be affected by flooding. And Bizo presented these results at AGU's Ocean Science meeting that took place in 2024. So here we have the island Tutula and Anuu will experience significant flooding due to relative sea level rise by 2050. This is what you're looking at right here. Same scaling applies, right? And even more by 2100, particularly within the coast's many harbors, inlets, and shallow lagoons. Okay, so this is what they're projecting to be by 2050. Let's reveal what 2100. Right? Look, I point your attention to here. And by the way, this is the airport. We'll look at that in a moment. So you can see this here, right? Look at that. Look at the extension of area submerged. And now we can see that is considerably more. More land flooding. The airport's flooded, by the way. And this inlet is flooded. We can see it all here. Right? Again, we'll look at the 20. It's considerably less for the 2050. And then look at what 2100 projects. So, to help residents learn more about the risk of flooding, how it could affect local infrastructure, the researchers, community leaders co-created an interactive sea level rise viewer for American Samoa. And this is what we're looking at here for the Pago Pago International Airport and the surrounding area and the Pala Lagoon. So it starts at 2030 and just projects it in 10-year increments. And as you can see, it just gets worse and worse. By the way, this is the airport. Here are your 2 runways. This is probably a connecting taxiway. Here are your 2 runways. Runways will be flooded. So users can zoom in far enough to see individual houses, land holdings, agricultural areas, wetland infrastructures. Community can then make appropriate plans. So this was demonstrated, and it was a kind of a wake-up call for folks. So the tool has been very helpful in illustrating the extensive impacts of sea level rise on our islands in a quick snapshot, and hopefully folks can then plot a course of action. So they want to expand this tool to include the Swains Island, Territory Second Atoll, and as well as keep improving, the tool, it's working, and so forth. And they want to be able to get a better picture of the severity and the level of subsidence that is anticipated to take place. So ocean levels are rising, but not uniformly. And in some cases, especially if you had events such as earthquakes that could shift, how islands behave. It could be compaction of the material that that leads to subsidence. Which, so as the sea levels increase, but the land decreases, the overall effect is kind of like double the intensity, if you will. And it's not just American Samoa. It's all the, for example, the Maldives and all the other islands in the Indo-Pacific region. They're all could be experiencing such future events. So coastal regions worldwide are at risk as sea levels rise due to thermal expansion of the water as the waters heat up, melting land ice, right? All these things are going to contribute to massive, or definitely noticeable, significant increases in sea level for the upcoming decades. Until next time.